the 12th of June 2021, a European Championship match watched live by tens of millions of people around the planet. And then, near the end of the first half, something happens that no one is ready for. A Danish player, running back toward his own half, suddenly drops to the ground. No one touched him. No tackle, no collision. He just falls. And within seconds, the faces of the players nearest to him go from confusion to pure terror. Because Christian Eriksen's heart has stopped. In front of the entire world, one of the best footballers on earth is dying on the pitch. What happens next is something people who saw it will never forget. His teammates sprint over, and then they do something extraordinary. They form a wall, a human shield around his body, arms linked, so that the cameras and the world cannot film their friend in that moment. His partner is brought down to the edge of the pitch, in tears, fearing the worst. And for several endless minutes, the biggest match in the world stops being a game. It becomes a group of doctors, on the grass, doing CPR, fighting to restart a young man's heart. Later, Eriksen himself would put it in the simplest, most chilling way. For those minutes, he was gone. But this is not a story about the day Christian Eriksen died. It's a story about what he decided to do after they brought him back, and about a tiny device they placed inside his chest that, 5 years later, would have to save his life all over again. Live in front of the world. Stay with me, because how this one turns out is the part that gives you chills. Before we go back to that day, subscribe if you like the stories behind the moments that stop the world. To understand what was almost lost, you have to know who Christian Eriksen was on that pitch. This wasn't a squad player. Eriksen was, quite simply, one of the finest midfielders on the planet, the creative heartbeat of every team he played for, from Ajax to Tottenham to Inter Milan, the kind of player who sees a pass 3 seconds before anyone else, who makes the whole game bend around him. At 29, he was in his prime, the leader of his national team, adored in Denmark. Keep that in mind, a man at the absolute peak of his powers. He had everything in front of him, and in a single second, on an ordinary summer evening, all of it, his career, his future, his life, came down to whether a team of doctors could bring his heart back. They could. After minutes of CPR and a shock from a defibrillator right there on the field, Christian Eriksen's heart started beating again. He was stabilized, conscious, and carried off the pitch, and an entire planet that had been holding its breath finally exhaled. It was, by any measure, a miracle. But surviving that night was only the beginning of the fight. Because the doctors now had to answer a terrifying question. What caused a fit, elite, 29-year-old athlete's heart to simply stop? And more urgently, how do you make sure it never happens again? Their answer was a small piece of technology called an ICD, an implantable cardioverter defibrillator. Think of it as a tiny guardian, placed inside his chest, constantly watching his heartbeat, ready to deliver a shock from the inside if his heart ever goes into a dangerous rhythm again. It could save his life. But it came with a brutal cost. In Italy, where he played for Inter Milan, the rules do not allow a player with an ICD to compete in Serie A. So the cardiac arrest didn't just nearly kill him, it also cost him his club. In December 2021, Inter ended his contract. He had survived, but at that moment, it looked like the football career of one of the world's best players was simply over. Almost everyone assumed he would never play at the top level again. They were wrong, because Christian Eriksen made a decision that stunned the sport. He was going to play again, not in some lower league, quietly. At the very top, less than a year after his heart stopped on that pitch, he signed with Brentford in the Premier League, the toughest league in the world, and walked back out onto a football field, defibrillator in his chest, to a standing ovation. He played so well that Manchester United, one of the biggest clubs on earth, signed him next. Think about what that takes. To go back to the exact place where you died. To trust your own heart again, in front of roaring crowds, knowing what happened the last time. Most people never recover from the fear alone. He turned it into a comeback. And it got better. At the end of 2022, just 18 months after that night, Christian Eriksen walked out for Denmark at the World Cup and played every single minute of his country's matches. The man who had been clinically gone on a pitch was now back on the biggest stage in the sport, representing his nation. But here's the thing that makes his story different from any ordinary comeback. Every time Christian Eriksen now steps onto a field, he does it with that device in his chest, a constant, quiet reminder that he is, in a very real sense, living and playing on borrowed time. And in June of 2026, the world would be reminded of exactly why that device is there. On the 8th of June 2026, during a match for Denmark against Ukraine, Christian Eriksen collapsed on the pitch once more. For a heartbeat, the whole nightmare of 2021 came flooding back. But this time, something was different. This time, his heart went into a dangerous rhythm, and the ICD in his chest did exactly what it was put there to do. It delivered a shock from the inside and corrected his heartbeat in real time. Eriksen stayed conscious. He walked to the ambulance under his own power, and that same day, he posted a message himself to calm everyone down. The device had done its job. The very piece of technology that once cost him his club at Inter had just, 5 years later, saved his life on live television. Let's be clear and careful here. This wasn't the same as 2021, and he was quickly up and okay. But it showed the whole world what he lives with every day. So here is the real story of Christian Eriksen. Remember how he started a man at the absolute peak of his powers, whose life came down to 1 second on a pitch. He didn't just survive that second. He chose, again and again, to walk back into the exact place that nearly killed him and to keep playing the game he loves, with a machine in his chest standing guard over every heartbeat. His greatest achievement was never a trophy or a perfect pass. It was the courage to go back, to live fully, out loud, on the very stage where he once fell. Christian Eriksen didn't come back from the dead to play it safe. He came back to keep living and to show millions of people that the scariest moment of your life doesn't have to be the end of your story. So, did you watch that day back in 2021? Tell me where you were in the comments, and subscribe, because next time we go behind the curtain on another legend, the world only thinks it knows.